Okay, everyone, welcome to episode 8.5 of the Football Uncensored podcast. Why is it episode 8.5? Well, that's because the gang have been split up because of lockdown and COVID, and Don and Alan are actually sunning themselves in Gran Canaria as we speak. Well, probably not as we speak because it's now dark, but certainly today they've been sunning themselves. And you may have seen they did the 8th episode on Saturday, Saturday just gone. So this is the next iteration of that, with just John and I. I'm kind of deputising for Sir Don Shanks today, and I'll be asking John the questions. John, welcome. How are you?
All right, mate. Yeah, not bad. Good evening.
We might as well get going. I think, I don't know about you, but I actually thought this weekend's set of fixtures was the first set of games where it kind of everything has settled down a little bit, and the teams that are good are showing that they're good, and the teams that are bad are showing that they're bad, and it's a bit more of a consistent set of fixtures. I don't know what you thought about that, but we can go through each one bit by bit. But that was my initial view of the game. Don't know about what you think. No kind of real freak results, I didn't think.
No, I think perfect take on it, Joe. You know, I know you're filling in for Don Lord Hudson.
Yeah,
they're over there. While we're freezing our nuts off in London, they're swanning around over there. But we're trying to chip in and keep it going because, all like you say, everyone's been split up. And it was nice to get a mention from the chaps in episode 8. I wish I was out there with them, to be honest with you. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's the best place to be. Everyone seems to run for the hills, and like we're stuck in town. Yeah, no, I thought it was a good take. Dare I say it? Told you so.
Yeah.
I thought it would settle down, and I thought the usual suspects would basically come to the fore. Although there's one or two surprise packages, as we know. But like, you're quite right. I think they've just got basically like, a lot of sides have got a grip. You know, in terms of like some of the defending, not all of the clubs, but some of the clubs have got a grip of their defending. And like you say, there was no like hatful of goals apart from a couple of games. And like you say, I predicted a couple of weeks ago when I was having a row with Lord Hudson about something, and I said, well, wait and see. We'll wait and see. But I think it'll be the usual suspects, and it will be like a normal service will be resumed.
Yeah. It's kind of a bit of an initial kind of like everything thrown up in the air because of COVID and no fans, but yeah, it seems to be settling down. Is it worth? Let's go through the games. I might as well go through the games as they were played. So the Friday games.
Hold on, I just got to put me thing. I'll put them on here because I can't get them on the.
Yeah, don't worry.
I told you about me barnet. You know what I mean? I used to brush it. Now I have to arrange it.
Yeah. It's Gordon Gecko-esque. It's Gordon Gecko-esque, actually.
Yeah, if only I was a tenner behind him.
Oh, dear.
No, go on, mate. Fire away.
So you had.
What are you doing? She says, it's like your thing back in coaching and management. I'm sitting here making notes of all the fixtures, little highlights, bits and pieces. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's good. Well, this is what we want. It'd be good, this one to go a bit deeper. Let's get that onion. Sure. Let's peel a few of those layers of the onion off.
Yeah.
There isn't many layers to actually peel off. Certainly with Brighton against Burnley, 0-0, ball draw. Probably, I think that was the one where it's pay-per-view. I can't imagine many people paid for that, and there was no one physically watching it, which is probably a good thing.
Can I have a little look at the thing, like, because you're right what you said. I mean, there's no. What have I done here? It's about 8 or 9, maybe 10 lines. So if I was still scouting for Manchester City under Jimmy Frizzell, Brighton, I've put. I don't know. You can't tell unless you're really sitting up there looking down. So I've relied on the TV. Brighton 3-5-2, Burnley 4-4-2. What I noticed was I thought it wasn't the Burnley of old in terms of being difficult to break down. I've actually made a note. I thought they were beaten 2 or 3 times far too easily with one ball. In the end, I put that there were a few. They got back to their like resilience, their organisation. I put in there was some put in some good blocks and some good defending to earn a point. and that the cohesion improved later on. There was too many times I thought where, like Brighton are playing, and then someone's defended well, made Brighton set the ball back, and then I looked at it where it was a little bit disjointed. I mean, I don't know if I'm being uber critical. I shouldn't have said that word, should I? If I'm being ultra, if I'm being super critical, nitpicking, but it was as if three squeezed, and then one was a little bit overly cautious or a little bit paranoid at times, and that's a three squeezed and one stayed in, or one tracked the run in. I think if you're going to do it, you've got to do it with conviction. Whenever I coached it, you've got to do it like you mean it. You've got to make your mind up with your teammates, the teammates in front of you. You've got to affect the forward, and you've got to try and influence the officials as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously Brighton had a lot of possession, and I know, but Burnley, I guess, don't tend to dominate possession. But Brighton had loads of possession from the stats, but their finishing seemed poor. But given that, well, Ben Mee was back for Burnley, which, do you think that helped Burnley kind of keep the clean sheet and stop Brighton? I know they're a little bit impotent, Brighton, but it seems like a big player to have back for Burnley, Ben Mee.
Yeah. I mean, if you've got established partnerships or you've got established defenders, actually, quite a few Premier League teams over the weekend who look a better side when certain players are back.
Yeah,
back playing. Let me tell you the biggest thing that come out of this game. So before we move on to another fixture, I made a note about this Lamptey, who Chelsea let go for $4 million.
The right back, yeah.
So what I've done here, I've actually written down future England right back ? But what I liked about him was fantastic movement.
Oh dear.
Where was we? I was talking about Lamptey. What I was saying.
Yeah, Lamptey. Strong and quick. Yeah.
Yeah, just like his movement as well, though, Joe. You know what I mean? He don't just run in like tram lines. Do you know what I mean? There's like things you can coach, like when if he gets the ball wide. I like the way if it goes into the front man, he comes in off the line. So you coach like an angled run in off the line to come around the front of the front man and get it off of the centre forward or the front man, whoever's up there. Things like punching it into the front man, following his pass to clear the space, so you get a little rotation going, right? If you can picture that in your mind's eye. Yeah. So he's wide, he punches it into the centre forward, follows his pass, clears the space for a little rotation from the nearest midfield player or the centre half to shuffle across. Do you know what I mean? And feel the space is cleared. Or roll it square and then basically change places twice. He could do it. The midfield man can punch it into the front man and he comes in and becomes a midfield player. Or he basically rolls it square and then waits for the midfield man to punch it into the front man, and then he can come in off the line and play off the front man. All these little movements that he's got, I think it's a massive improvement, and it wouldn't surprise me if he'd be knocking on the door, England-wise.
Well, it's a good shot, massive, really good shot, because I like him as a
blistering pace. He's got blistering pace.
He seems very confident. He doesn't seem to take falls gladly. He seems to almost dominate games. And if you think of Sacco, who plays for Arsenal, he got his cap, didn't he, for England? And he seems a lot more self-confident and a lot more belief than Sacco, particularly for England. Sacco seemed a little, obviously it's his debut, a little bit unsure. But yeah, your man at Brighton is very, very confident.
I think there's a quality assurance. At Chelsea from way back when, in terms of the coaching. I don't think it's always been the case at Arsenal. Yeah. So the bottom line is, it's about. Let me tell you something. I promise you this. Right from when you're a kid, right from when they're getting them now at 10 years of age or whatever, 8, 9, 10, you're grounding between that and maybe 18. That sets the precedent for the rest of your career. It's about being taught the correct habits, and that's why he won't be phased, because he knows. Whereas like the guy you're comparing him with at the Arsenal, who knows if that's the case,
And I know we could talk all night, but that's an interesting point where you think about under George Graham and the Arsenal before that, with the defenders they were producing, churning out solid defenders, and they did have that aggression and confidence. You know, think of Adams when he was captain at 20, Arsenal, whatever it was, younger. That seemed, and Arsene Wenger's, you know, kind of revolutionised the club in inverted commas. But I wonder if that. I wonder if that's. Yeah, I wonder if that's sort of his legacy, where actually they're not churning out those strong-willed players anymore.
Well, yeah, I mean, he got the gig years ago. I've got my theory on it. I just think, like, it's, like I said, a lot of it's to do with getting the opportunity, coinciding with fate, destiny, serendipity. He, when he came in, he inherited that marvellous, whatever interpretation of that back five. So it could have been Adams and Bold, it could have been Adams and Keown, it could have been Keown and Bold, Dixon and Winterburn, Seaman in goal. You know, it sorts itself out, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it's one of them, isn't it? I'll just, if you know, I'll have another glass of French red, and then, like you, Tony, you get it sorted out at the back. You know what I mean? And all the thing about diet and nutrition and physiology and anatomy, stretching programs, like I've often said, and you know, you get into. I won't get into a heated debate on that subject because I know I'm right. You know what I mean? It rubs people up the wrong way. But Malcolm Allison was doing it 30 years before Arsene Wenger. He'd probably still, you know, like I said, running around his parents' garden in Alsace. Do you know what I mean? When Malcolm Allison was doing, yeah.
All right. Well, that's. We probably don't need to talk too much more about Brighton and Burnley. It is what it is. Burnley got a point, which is probably a good thing for them.
Yeah.
Southampton, Newcastle. Southampton top the league now.
Yeah.
Good result. Can Southampton finish in the top four? Is my question to you.
I think it always throws up a surprise. No one's more surprised than me. Honestly, you never know what's going on behind the scenes. So you've got to go with what you read and what you see and what you hear, what's in front of you. I honestly thought that they would come to rely too much. Ironically, he's been injured. He's got done something to his knee, hasn't he? I honestly thought that they'd rely too much on Ings, so I couldn't see. So then, like the Lord Hudson said, "Well, what about Redmond?" I said, "Yeah, fair enough." I've always rated Redmond. Actually, if you go back through my tweets of maybe 2-3 years ago, I was beating the drum for him to be in the England squad in front of, ironically, Theo Walcott. Then what they do, they recruit Walcott to lighten the load. For me, the revelation, I'm going to tell you now, as a manager, I look at this man, I look at this young man, and I think to myself, that's the type of guy you can hang your hat on, and basically you can have your evening meal, you can watch a bit of telly, then you retire, brush your teeth, put your head on the pillow, and you'll go straight out. You ain't going to have no sleepless nights with him. Che Adams. Che Adams, I think, has been a revelation. When you look at the goal, the confidence, the way he took his goal as well the other day, one-touch finish, magnificent. But he looks a beast as well. He looks a beast. So he's got pace, he's got power, and he looks like he's got the right attitude for it. So I think like massive thumbs up for Che Adams, and for me, he's been nothing short of a revelation. And they've found someone like an ideal package who could probably take the place of, if he's out longer term, Danny Ings. You know what I mean? He's got the physicality to lead the line.
It leads on to the next question then. What do you think the secret to Southampton's success is? Do you think it's the recruitment, the academy, the managers they've had, a combination of all three, the ownership? It seems like it doesn't matter how many players they sell, they've got a conveyor belt of good players coming through. The recruitment's good. Doesn't matter what manager they have, they seem to, you know, consistently perform. Just wondered what you thought there. Key to this, the manager.
It's a great point. What I've done is I've flipped over to where I've made notes on them, Joe. You know, I've put the first goal, great one-touch finish by Che Adams. The crossing, the ball in was quality as well, but difficult to deal with. I thought Newcastle would pour all over, but that's not taking anything away from Southampton. The common denominator, based on what you said, I'm looking here. I put there's a good goal threat from Adams, Walcott, Ings, even though he's injured, Redmond, Ward-Prowse. Ward-Prowse goes back to an old FA staff coach / colleague / I was going to employ him as head of youth development at Leyton Orient. He goes back to the Les Reed time at Southampton. So the common thread being, I think if you've got consistent decision making behind the scenes, it makes for a good consistency, like that thread that runs right through the club. So then you're going to, it's what I always said to the likes of Phil Wallace, Barry Earn, Tony Wood, rest in peace. Before him, I've dealt with 4 chairmen in 10 months. I was adamant that if it was organised well behind the scenes and you laid the right foundations, you'd be able to get good kids. Because we were always, no disrespect, we were always like sort of really last pick. Leighton Orient, if a kid's got a chance to go even Charlton or Millwall through the Blackwall Tunnel, you're surrounded by bigger clubs. So I was trying to beat the drum for like, this is how we've got to set up. This is the money you need to throw at it. This is blah blah blah. You know what I mean? And maybe fell on deaf ears to a degree. The common thread that runs through Southampton is our consistently over the years, like you say, they've not panicked.
No.
I remember he actually, after the 9-0, he offered his resignation, didn't he?
Did he? I didn't know that. That. Yeah, that was about a year ago, wasn't it? Almost at a day.
Yeah, I know they said no, and now they're reaping the dividends.
How amazing is that? That's the sort of flipped on its head, really. It's usually
refreshing. It's refreshing to say the least. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So they produce good kids. They've got the core element of good young players that have come through over the years. And like I say, if there's a consistency in the decision making, then I think it's reflected on the football field.
Fantastic addition. They play great football as well, don't they? High intensity, expensive football.
Yeah. Well, you can use them if you want. I'm back to basically what that means is creating and utilising space, making the pitch big. Exactly. But there's the second goal. Well, I thought the dribble was too easy from a Newcastle point of view, but nevertheless a great finish, punched it into the as we're looking at it, the bottom right hand corner by the 17. So whether they can stay there and be there all year, I'm not so sure. They'd probably be like sort of on par with like Sheffield United last year in terms of overperforming, if you like.
Yeah, I think the refreshing thing is just that, like say, initially it was like, well, if Ings is out, they're going to struggle to score. All of a sudden, it looks, if Ings comes back, that's a powerful front three.
Well, at the start, I held my hands up because this made me look a muck, because I thought to myself like that. Maybe the novelty of a new manager wearing off, and the fact that they would be too reliant on Ings, and I couldn't see where the goals were going to come from. But the recruitment and what's gone on behind the scenes, the way they've been drilled and coached, is nothing short of magnificent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. All right, let's go on to Everton Man United. Obviously, good result for Man United. Timely one for Ollie, I would say. What I was going to ask you, obviously, give your thoughts on the game, but as a specific question: were Man United good or were Everton poor? And why have Everton lost form?
Yeah, they've gone off the boil. Everton have gone off the boil big time, and I thought it was as much to do with that as a great response from Man United in the week. I was one of their biggest critics because I actually put on Twitter, I said, "What's going on here? This goal away to the Turks." One was whereby let's go back to front. The second one, the play was shifted so far over one side, it looked like they got a massive overload, and they've gone out your feet across, and the Geezers put the finish past De Gea for the second one. But I just thought it was very, very poor schoolboy defending. Even more so the first one. It was like one of them ones reminiscent of like when you played in the infants or at the start of the junior school when you've got 20 kids marauding around after a ball with nothing remotely like any sort of organisations. And it's like, again, when you coach, you're always looking at your back players, reminding them, right? Be ready. It's coming back at you. Be ready. And what happened was, it was like they'd all like flooded forward and one smash up the field, and you look and you go, whoa, hold on, where's everyone gone? And Denver Bar's through one-on-one with De Gea and slots it past him. It was absolutely embarrassing. But what a magnificent response away to Everton. Then you see him get emotional, Ollie. Well, about time. About time. Don't listen, I'll say to any coach or manager, I mean, maybe don't go to the extremes that I did. Looking back, people say today on Twitter, eerily enough, given the chance to go back, would you do the same again? Well, from an absolutely selfish point of view, and to protect my career and to put myself first and think about myself first, emphatically, no, I wouldn't. But it doesn't hurt every now and again. You see him, he got very emotional after the game. I thought he was going to start bursting into tears. I did. When he's going on about, like, you know, we've put them players out there, lunchtime kick-off after a game Wednesday, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, calm down, you know what I mean? And total contrast to in the week where he was sitting on the thing and he said, well, I'm doing the job to the best of my ability. You know, he looked like a naughty schoolboy who was waiting to get caned by the headmaster. Do you know what I mean? And embarrassing. But now, I'd say there's nothing wrong with wearing your heart on your sleeve a little bit and showing your emotion, showing the fans that little bit of passion.
Yeah.
I mean, on what I put in here, just from my notes, right, that's still not right. The Everton goal come from a long punt from Pickford. You should never get caught like that. As a defender, you should never get caught like that. Calvert-Lewin knockdown. I've just put that Wan-Bissaka should do a lot better there, in my opinion, especially someone blessed with pace. So if like you've got your starting position, and if the nearest central defender to you as a fullback is going to the ball, you should be creating like an upside down V. So what you should be tucked round, goal side ready. He was, even with his blistering pace, he got caught out. He got levelish, and then the geezer's done a little bit of a mazy. He's hit the shot, it's gone through his legs and in the corner. My general overview, I'll put down good reaction by United to the result, which I've already said in Turkey. Look better, they look sharper. And what I will say is Maguire looked a lot better.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that, yeah.
You know, like he looked like much more of a leader, much more of a dominant centre-back, much more of an £85 million centre-back.
Yeah, he come out of defence a lot better, I thought. He seemed to have a lot more confidence coming out of defence, and that's always a big part of his game. Where
Contrarily, Joe, I put Everton, I thought they were too deep, not compact enough, no bosses at the back, no leaders. That's what it looked like to me. And I thought Keane, for one of the goals, I thought he was very poor. But it's a common thread. There's no one ballsy. You know, like having a bit of, in any back four, to say, this is where we're going to hold our line. And if the ball gets set back, this is where we're going to squeeze up. You know, someone bossing it, screaming at his fellow back four players, dare I say, like I used to do a little bit in the lower divisions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The gaps were too big, that especially for one of them, that the one, the Fernandes one, where he sort of made what looks like a third man run into the box. And when you look at the gap between Everton's sort of line in front of Pickford, it was massive.
Yeah.
So their starting position was too deep. You've got to concede ground a little bit if there's no pressure on the ball. But when someone does lock on, you can afford to hold a line. And I would have said, like, they could have afforded to hold the line that's slightly higher, which means the centre back would have been going up with Fernandes to try and win the header instead of being 4 or 5 yards off of him, giving him a free header. I'll put down. I don't think Rashford touched the second goal, but significantly for me, there was no pressure on the ball for either of them. Really, it was too easy.
Yeah.
And I just basically reiterated what I said. Not compact enough, Everton. And then after the second, United sat in, bit of pressure from Everton. But Fernandes, they hit him on the break, and I thought he was magnificent setting up Cavani.
Oh yeah, it was. He was. He left it right to last minute, didn't he? He sucked the defender in and then slipped it left. Good finish from Cavani, I thought.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, do you think it's a start of a renaissance for Ollie, or should we just admit that they're just an inconsistent club and not good enough to compete for silverware? And if so, is that Ollie's fault?
Yeah, it is his fault. Yeah. Everything stems from the coach and the manager. Everything stems from the coach or the manager. Me personally, I've got this ongoing thing, you know, as you know, with Lord Hudson, and they had a little pop the other day from their episode 8, and he's going on about it was the manager, not the coach, Sits and all that. And Don's gone like, Sits, you know, you're not here to answer back and all that. Wish you was here and all that. Well, I can answer it back now. It's just my opinion. It's only my personal opinion. But if you look at it, if you examine the question, that I'm gonna put, and I'll actually make a statement. I was told by someone high up in coaching circles, if you ever get a choice between plotting a career path as a coach or as a manager, they said to me, always pick coach, because there's more coaching jobs in the game than there are managers' jobs in the game. And then secondly, you should, by rights, always get work. Right? I never got work, so I stopped applying. I had 4 non-league jobs after I come away from the Orient and the FA thing, but then after that, I just fell out of bed with it. I fell out of love with it all. But where Lord Hudson's concerned, what I would say is, or what I would proposition, a question is, I think a football club can do without a manager, but they can't do without a coach. You know what I mean? I think if you've got a director of football, I mean, it's a separate issue, but what it comes down to is, if you've got directors of football now, then what's the point of the manager? If you've got a manager, what's the point of a director of football? Right? But then if you put them both in the same sort of, package them in the same sort of employment in the club, apart from like massive amounts of money going out for one of them, I would say, I would suggest that a football team quite possibly could do without a manager, but it cannot do without a coach.
I mean, obviously, you've got incredible insight. I'm a layman, and very much someone from the outside looking into the game. I kind of guessed, from my understanding of the difference between a manager and a coach, was the manager implements the pattern of play or comes up with a strategy, and then basically gets the coaches to implement it for him on the training ground, and in terms
you generally have a brainstorming thing in the staff room over a pot of tea, or maybe you'll go for a few meals and you'll discuss this, discuss that. I always thought that Donnell was right. So you've got the best of both worlds then. He said that the best coach in the football club should be the manager, because you've got to have a go-to guy. Unfortunately, speaking from a personal point of view, I played under far too many of them who couldn't coach. Because then who do you turn to? Who do you look to? Who's your focal point? In terms of your passion and all that, Joe, it's got to come. I just think this is where he was worth his body weight in probably what he's been paid over the years, like Sir Alex Ferguson. Because you've got to, if you rest yourself during the week like he did, and he observed training sometimes outside, sometimes inside from his office, according to sources, according to what I've read, according to what I've absorbed and remembered. And then on Saturday, or maybe the 24 hours before the game, he switched on. Maybe the Thursday practice match, the Friday 5-a-side or 8-a-side, I should say, 9-a-side, and then on match day, and he's implemented them standards, and he's shown his appetite for winning, for not losing, for being hard to beat, and the passion and the demands of playing for a club like Man United. I think that's got to come from the top. Unfortunately, in my experience, sometimes the lower down you go, the harder it becomes, and then you end up kicking every ball.
Getting involved too much.
Yeah, you get involved too much.
Yeah. Let's go on to the Palace Leeds game. I thought that was a fascinating game. Really interesting tactical battle, I thought. I'd be interested as a master tactician, John. Be interesting to know how you assess the tactics of the game, and because it looked, again, from a layman's point of view, that Hodgson did a job on Bielsa, and really showed Bielsa up a little bit for having a very, very good plan A, but not necessarily a plan B.
Yeah,
that's my view.
Yeah, nice. It's a nice sentiment. I wish I was a master tactician. Couple of things. This is what people have got to realise when this is born of being near enough in and around the game for 50 years, since I was 12 years of age, walking into the marble halls of Highbury. First of all, you never, ever, ever. It's like life itself. It's a microcosm of life. Education is a process. It can be, if you want it to be, a lifelong process. It's not an overnight thing. So as a consequence, if you look at football, you never stop learning. Secondly, a lot of it's based on plagiarism. A lot of football's based on plagiarism. Thirdly, to everybody out there, I can honestly tell you, having played at every level, in every division, it's not bionuclear physics. And like he says, Lord Hudson, you know, it's a simple game complicated by idiots, which is a quote from years ago by Ron Greenwood. So there's no like real master stroke, super duper formula that someone's come up with or can come up with. And in the end, it's about the application of the players. I always thought that, I think they'll be all right, Leeds. I really do. I think they'll be all right. But at the minute, I think they're still finding their feet. It's still early days. They're still getting used to the division. I despair at the VAR decision. It might have put a different complexion on the game. I thought that was absolutely nothing short of nonsense. What you got? I mean, what's it going to do? You can't have your calves rubbed by the physio. You can't have a steak on a Friday night. Your pre-match meal's got to be poached eggs. I mean, how many more nonsense rules they're going to come up with? Yeah. They're going to start thinking of stuff. You can only use sign language, or I don't know. You can't shout too loud because you might burst someone's eardrum if you're standing next to them, and that's noise pollution. So there's a yellow card for that. All he's done, he's bent his run slightly, Bamford, to stay on side. He's pointed where he wants it, right? He's pointed to his teammate, right, where he's going to run, where he wants it. And they gave his arm as offside. Nonsense. Utter, complete and utter garbage. So that might have put a different complexion on the game. That's the first thing. When you look at it in terms of how they set up, I've got down here, again from the TV, Palace 4-3-3. So they can retreat to reflect Leeds 4-1-4-1. Right? So basically, when both teams lose the ball, they become 4-5-1. So you know you've got that match-up midfield player for player, and then obviously I left Bamford isolated for Leeds, and probably who would it have been? AU, but
yeah.
In terms of the goals, looking at the first goal, avoidable. As a centre back, I'm telling you, avoidable. It stemmed from his starting position. The number 5, when Scott Dan's headed it, when they're competing for it, what's got to happen is you've either got to go up and win it, and so you get up early. I'm telling you now, as an ex-centre back, ex-defender, you've either got. If you can look at my hands here, right. So the marking, you should be a yard and a half in front, your head on the swivel, touch tight, right. Now when the ball comes in from the corner, you've got to get up early, right. So my right hand is the defender, my left hand is down. So slightly, you get up early and again, so you punch the header away, right.
Yeah.
If you know that you're really in for a battle in terms of height and etc. What you do, you get up and you get against him. Right? What happened was the 5 got caught under the ball. I think you'll find the 5 got caught under the ball. So that's credit to Dan for dominating him now. Easy, I don't know how you pronounce it. His surname's EZE. Great free kick for the second goal. Yeah. Just subtext. I'll put down. He also took the corner for the first. The third goal, I put down that I thought it was a bit of a freak, but avoidable. If you watch the goalkeeper, he leaves too big a gap at the near post, and it's a cardinal sin. Trying to read the cross, very poor. Because again, when you're coaching defending, sometimes you have to hold your hands up, right? And whether it's the goalkeeper or whether it's the defender that's been beat, right, Joe? If you've scored a worldie or you've showed an amazing bit of ability, you've done a little step over, you've shifted the keeper's body weight, and it's like one of them, don't watch me eyes, or you've even bent into the far corner, you hold your hand and you go, great technique, great ability, great skill, right? Skill is knowing when to apply the technique, right? So you hold your hands up. The point I make is, if that's the case, then at least you've made them work hard for the goal.
Yeah.
Always coach defend. If they're going to score, you make them go the long way round. Does that make some sort of sense?
Yeah, of course it does.
You make them go the long way around. What you don't do is you don't make it obvious, like you're trying to read the cross, right? 10 out of 10 for ingenuity, 0 out of 10 for execution. You don't try and read the cross and then leave them a massive gap at the near post and the geezer rolls it in. Yeah. It's a nonsense, you know what I mean? Yeah. AU too easy. Leeds, that was all on one side. So again, it's like see what he's saying about Bielsa. I know they had a run. Someone said saying, I don't know, it was another game. I mean, get a grip. Or they've gone 3 hours without conceding a goal. Well, that's 2 games. that's two lots of 90 minutes. Get a grip. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't know, like where Bielsa's concerned.
I'm sure they'll do all right this season. It's just
they stay up. But I mean, you look at the thing. What did they concede? Like 7 goals in the first 2 games. Now they've got hammered again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like I say, I think they're still finding their feet. But it's almost it's like 1 step forward, 2 steps back.
Yeah.
I think they'll just about have enough.
Yeah.
To stay up.
So
with Leeds, what I made a footnote, I just thought they got caught, for my liking, they got caught a little bit too square too often. No sense of danger from the covering players. So again, if someone's on point pressing the ball, you've got to take your shape off of them. Like I said, to you, when they lose, they seem to lose big.
Yeah. Well, I think they just keep going and throwing everyone forward and get done on the counter a bit. But let's go on to the next one then, which is Chelsea Sheffield United, another 4-1. Sheffield United struggling, but Chelsea look like they're purring a little bit. And I was going to ask how well do you think Lampard's done, sort of incorporating the new signings, because they all seem to. Ziyech played really well, I thought, against Sheffield United. What's your thoughts on that?
Unbelievable player, Joe. Highly intelligent player, conscientious professional. Once he got over his, let's say, late teens idiocy, early 20s idiocy. See, if I wanted to be spiteful, I could put stuff out and I could put stuff on the book. You know, people question my misdemeanors. You know what I mean? I've got an unbelievable memory when it comes to shit that's happened in the game or people have done stuff. What I liked about him was his defiance. Bit truculent when he was doing press conferences. You know, you've got to give it time. We've signed, we've got 5, 6 new players to integrate. We've got to give it time. It's not going to happen immediately, etc. That's fair. That was fair comment. But the sooner you get it done on the training field, the better.
Yeah.
And in answer to your question, it looks like yes. You know, in terms of getting both ends right. I've shot myself in the foot too early again because I went big on their performance up at Man United. I said they could be the dark horses when we done the podcast on the Tuesday after with Sitton and Lord Hudson. I said like the Arsenal could be the dark horses on social media, and then like they've mugged me off yesterday, cost me a 4-timer with a charity bet. But Chelsea, I honestly think they are shaping up to be the real deal. They're getting it right at both ends. Like you said, they're purring going forward. They look really dangerous in terms of like every attack they've got. You look around, they've got danger in every area.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they got goals coming, which is a massive. Let me tell you, when you're a coach or a manager, you're looking at it, you're thinking, okay, we're set up. Defensively, we set up our set pieces. We set up with patterns of play. Where are the goals going to come from? Right, and I'm talking from bitter experience. And having played at too many clubs where there were no goals in the side.
Yes.
But when you look at Chelsea, there's I mean, I've looked at it. I've made a few notes here. I mean, I just thought, you know, they were really, once they got going, they were magnificent in every area. Yeah. I like the kid who he put the delivery in for Tammy. Yeah, he put the delivery in for the first run, and then you had the cutback for Tammy's goal.
Yeah.
Second goal, which would probably annoy Chris Wilder. Sheffield United, not enough pressure on the ball. The back line squeezed, which they shouldn't have done. Space
not like
behind
them, is it? It's not like them, Sheffield United. I don't want to.
Yeah, well drilled. You associate them with you associate them with being well drilled, but it's almost as if like fair enough. You've got to try and nick a yard, nick 2 yards, nick 3 yards in relation to the ball. But that little thing like Chilwell's made a great run in behind for the delivery from the same guy.
Yeah.
And then Silva got across. I mean, that is
the
like,
first man, didn't
if you was to do a thing at the training ground where you're trying to show an example to a young team of how to get across the goalkeeper and the defender, right, to twist your head, neck and shoulders and get one, and that would be it, the silver goal. The fourth goal, Timo, he reacted magnificently, very, very quick, very sharp to the mistake and buried it.
He seems like a good forward to Abraham, doesn't he? Abraham as a centre forward, and Werner kind of playing off him because he's so sharp and quick. I don't think he's a centre forward.
Yeah. Say his name again, the other geezer. I mean,
Timo Werner.
Werner. Not Timo, the other geezer, 22.
Ziyech.
Yeah, from Ajax.
Yeah.
37 million is looking like, I mean, for me, it's looking like good business. 2 assists and
just quickly then, Sheffield United, one season wonders? Question mark.
Could be. Funny enough, you said that. We ain't. So everybody knows we haven't spoken. I'll put down here. I actually did a throwaway comment in Tuesday's podcast after last week. I said, could it be second season syndrome? And what I've said is like a little shout out to like Andy the Blade and all that. They follow me on Twitter up north. Magnificent support I've had for the book and everything from up north. Little shout out to them. I mean, what I said to him, it could be second season syndrome because like you can't. The problem you got, Joe, you can't. And I know they've got foreign ownership, right? So here's the thing, right? If you believe in the guy, you trust the guy, for sure. That's where I totally agree with Barry Earn on the last knockings. For sure, you've got to run it on a cost-effective basis, and you've got to manage the funds, and you've got to spend the money. In my opinion, it's just my opinion, probably wrongly. You've got to spend the money as if it's your own. But I said to Andy the Blade, you can't keep expecting Chris Wilder to perform miracles. No,
pull rabbit out of hats. Yeah.
No, this is the problem. So then you've got this what I've called second season syndrome because it's new to him. They come up into the Premier League. It's new to him. He wants to show what a good manager and a good coach he can be. I get that. Never got enough credit for innovative tactics. Centre half playing the left wing, crossing the ball. No, but like magnificent how they got like the passing, the movement, and put the ball in the danger. But I always thought the same thing. You can. It's all very well striving to keep clean sheets, but you've got to have someone who can consistently put the ball in the back of the net. If you haven't got someone, a focal point, let's say a Salah, a Mane, a Harry Kane, who consistently going to put the ball in the back of the net, 1 in 2, whatever. Right, you've got to have a goal threat coming from as many areas of the football field as possible. I think it's too much to ask. I put down here off the pace, defending poor at times, disjointed, shape of the side was out of whack. So you don't know. It could be second season disaster for them.
All right, let's move on to the next one. Then. West Ham 1, Fulham 0. Should have been 1-1. I think we could all agree on that, or certainly. The penalty should have been taken a lot better by Mr. Lookman. I know
I kept getting asked questions on social media about it. How would I have dealt with it?
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, that was going to be my question. And also, why do players overcomplicate penalties? Why do they try and be clever?
Yeah, you could see. See, the thing is, listen. I'm biased. I like to think that I know or I knew the subject matter. B, I could communicate. C, I like to think I was a fair and decent person, decent man. And you've got Scott. He's born very close to when I'm born in terms of month and I believe in this type of stuff. There are certain personality traits that come out. And then when you find out someone's born at a certain time of year, you say, you could see that, you could relate to it. And he's born the same birth sign as me. He was absolutely, you could tell, he was working hard to hold it in. Because let me tell you this, right? Nothing short of arrogant. This is Lookman. Nothing short of arrogant, nothing short of narcissistic, nothing short of totally self-indulgent to the detriment of your team, your club, your teammates and your manager. That's the type of action that can put a man out of work. And I thought it was despicable. And I don't know.
I
Depends
suppose
what
you
mood I
can't
was
ruin
in.
You can't ruin the guy's
you can't. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. I'm a fan. I was a fan of his. Let me tell you this. Right, this is the truth. God's honest truth. When I seen him burst on the scene at Everton, I thought, this kid, what a player he looks. Right, and then obviously Sam. Probably why Sam's ended up longer in the game than I did. He fucked him off. He let him go, and he weren't a part of. During Sam Allardyce's very short tenure at Everton, he was not in his plans. Well, maybe he saw something in his conduct around the club, his body language, the way he trained, the way he played, the way he responded, the way he reacted to coaching, to verbal, to criticism, to praise. Because you can react to praise a certain way and you end up being a little bit too full of yourself, right? Been there, done that, got the T-shirt, the sweatshirt and the tracksuit. You can be crushed if you're criticised, or you can respond to being criticised like I used to as a player. Well, I looked at him, I thought he was a fantastic prospect, Joe. I really did. And then he's gone abroad, and then Fulham have got him on a season loan. Yeah. So this is what ties in again with what I spoke about in my brief tenure as a manager. I thought it's very, very important to have players who have got an emotional bond and an emotional attachment to a football club. So we need as many homegrown players as we can. And I wanted to invest in producing youth, because it's imperative they have that emotional contact, attachment, commitment, involvement with the club. He's a lone player. So really and truly, he can ride off into the sunset with no fucks given about Scott Park Royal Fulham. Do you know what I mean? But if I was asked to sum it up professionally, right now I've just sworn here, but say we're on Sky or wherever, I'd just say, I would say I thought it was totally arrogant, narcissistic and self-indulgent. That's what
it's cost them a big point. It's cost them a big point there. And I mean, it's all right missing a penalty. You know, you can miss penalties, but just not like that.
Scott said, if you're going to do it, you've got to score it.
You've got to score, yeah, exactly. I remember Pirlo did it, didn't he, against, I think it's Euro 2012. You know, he showed Joe Hart up. He said Joe Hart was getting a little bit aggressive, and he you know, knocked him down a peg or two by doing a little chip. But he scored, and that's Pirlo, and that's the difference, isn't it? But
he tried it once for England, Lineker.
Yeah. I just want to say, because obviously they're out the bottom three, Fulham. I think they're fourth from bottom, got 4 points. Do you think Paddy Power and other bookmakers are a bit premature and silly to pay out early and get relegated? You don't?
No, I don't. I think the only one I've got wrong is Southampton. And I've given my reasons for that. I've given my reasons now 2 or 3 times. I thought they were too reliant on Ings, but they've recruited well. They've added numbers. Che Adams has come to the fore. Walker-Prowse is cooking. His form is absolutely on fire. They've added Walcott, etc. I did say, looking at West Brom, I can relate to what he's going through, Bilic. He's playing, he's coaching and managing the team. They look vulnerable at every attack.
Let's move on to that game then, because that's the next game anyway. West Brom.
Okay, mate. Yeah. What can I just add lastly? Right, someone said to me on social media, so it's important, right, that people know that we're trying to be interactive with the podcast further down the line. We take notice of social media. We take notice of
comments,
tweets,
questions.
Yeah,
of course.
And someone said on social media when they was asked my opinion about Lookman, right? So I said what I said. I thought it was diabolical. Someone said, "Well, leave him alone. It was a mistake." So my swift reply straight away was, fair comment, but some mistakes are avoidable, and you can avoid them very simply by just being professional, right? Yeah. And I don't think he was. And then under that, I've put what I just said: arrogant, indulgent, unprofessional, narcissistic, the type of thing that could cost a manager his job. Yeah. So just basically, you know, underpin what I've already said.
Underscore really. It. Yeah. So yeah, I was just going to ask you, and obviously, I thought West Brom were pretty unlucky, but I suppose that's the difference in class sometimes. You know, Kane gets chip in, he scores 1-0, unfair. Good result for Spurs. You know, a Mourinho-esque performance, probably nicks a win. you know, it's a massive result for Spurs. Does that, those types of results that go against West Brom, you know, do you think it doesn't bode well for Bilic and the team? You know, it's just
he's doing his best with what he's got.
Yeah.
Again, much lower down, Joe. Much lower down. Been there, seen it, done it. Got the t-shirt, got the sweatshirt.
Demoralising, isn't it?
Got the tracksuit. And I know exactly what he's going through. But he's trying to do the best with what. Yeah, Bilic, he's trying to do the best with what he's got. But you look at the thing, there's, you know, at one stage, see the way he would have approached it, maybe would have approached it, Mourinho, is just reiterate to Spurs, play your normal game, but above all else, just stay solid, because you will get chances against these. You will get chances. So what you're doing, you're basically you're telling your players when you're playing West Brom, there's mistakes in the side, because they're like rabbits caught in headlights, and again, no goal for it. So I'm telling you now from first-hand experience. Believe me, trust me when I tell you, I'm talking from first-hand experience. It's a recipe for disaster. If you're conceding goals, don't matter, even like all that time 0-0, and then they scored right on the last knock-ins. I think it was even into added time, maybe. You know when you're down there, that's what these are the type of things that happen to you, and it takes a minor miracle for it to be turned around. Literally a minor miracle. I can't see how they get rid of Bilic, bring someone else in, then give them a fortune to spend to turn it away from the iceberg. I mean, I think they're down with Fulham. I don't think Paddy Power's paid out too soon. I think, bless him, he's done his best. But again, in defence, I say it as I see it, a little bit in defence of Scott Parker. I just honestly think the magnificent achievement getting him up. Bit of truth be told, he's had to spend quite a long time clearing up somebody else's mess.
Yeah, and it's not like they've given him another 120 mil like Fulham had a couple of years ago when they got promoted. So he had to do it on a shoestring, didn't he?
Yeah.
Just on the Spurs game, Eric Dyer obviously plays centre half again next to Reupload, and he come out and said that that's his favourite position. He wants to be a centre half now. Do you think he could become a top class centre half?
Is he big and commanding? I'd say if you put these list of boxes like for a centre back, I'd put a cross. That's a no. Is he particularly dominant in the air? That's a no. Is he particularly quick? That's a no. Does he read the game particularly well? That's a no. Does he run the ball in? Great distribution. Become an extra midfield player? I'd say that's a no. So, but now all of a sudden his favourite position or his best position is centre half. It's as if he's thinking, I can play there because it's easy. Well, it ain't easy. I promise you it ain't easy. No. Near enough every game in my career I had as a centre back. And you've got to, your mind's got to be like that, because the pitch is changing in milliseconds. Yeah. And he gets caught far too often marking on the wrong side of the ball. There's a big list I can give you. What constitutes a decent centre back? And people will go, this geezer's off his nut. But if you go back through it, I'm right. You look at Rio Ferdinand. His last 7 seasons, he had 1.5 good seasons in the last 7. Yeah. Right? Well, everyone goes on about Rio. He could have been this, he could have been that. Well, in the end, he weren't, was he? He had a great club career, but in terms of what they won, that you're only ever as good as the players around you. When it comes down to the nitty gritty, and the way he got out of jail, let me tell you something. What would have happened? Sir Alex Ferguson would have sold him like that, right? If he could have come up with another centre half that justified the money, who was much better than him, Rio, right? And put him alongside Vidic, because Vidic carried him for 5.5 years or 5 years, however long they was there. I looked at him intently, right, with methodically, with the idea. Well, hold on, is he really the real deal? Is he really?
Look,
you know
look
what I mean?
through the facade.
All the fuss that's being made about him. Who am I?
Well,
I'll tell you who am I to question now. I'll tell you who I am. I'm someone who's been there. Some would say fouled. Some would say angry. Some would say bitter. Some would say you don't know what you're talking about. But I promise you, I do. It's the same game. And I think Dyer falls into that category. He's not. Never in a million years, right? Was he ever mobile enough to be a midfield player? And he definitely weren't creative enough. And in terms of screening the centre backs, you need to be even more mobile than mobile. You understand? You could be a mobile, a midfield player who's not particularly mobile. Think Cesc Fabregas, not a particularly great athlete, but cultured, creative, crafty, and read the game. You know what I mean? So that could get him a yard, right?
One thing to say, Mourinho and Southgate fancy him, it seems.
Yeah. Okay. Good luck to him. I know what I'd do. Yeah. I know what I'd do if I come up against him as an opposition coach. And with regards to Southgate, I'd tell my forward, anything with pace, I would say pin him. Anyone who's got pace, I'd say pin him. And in terms of your players going forward, like with regards to the ball at their feet, if you have a look, right, you should be marking. If the ball, like you say, you carve the pitch up into 3/3. If the ball's in either of the thirds long ways on the outside wide, you should be marking inside to out. And when the ball's middle, you should be marking directly in the line of the ball. If the ball's in the channel, you can afford to mark on the outside. He always gets caught on the wrong side. So players, they can go bang, body in and rolling. That's his most vulnerable part of his game, other than when someone's running at him.
Just quickly, can Spurs win the league?
No.
Okay.
There's still too many areas to address. And he said it himself, so I don't know what. Yeah, but he's making the thing. He's giving them excuses, Joe, before they've even kicked off. They go, there's too many managers doing it now. I just said, it's like I said to Lord Hudson the other week. I said, you don't do that. I said to Don, you don't do that. If you're playing for me, I don't start saying, oh, we're tired, you're tired, we're tired, you're tired, everyone's tired, we're all tired. We can't train because we're tired. We're tired. We flew back from Turkey, we're tired. We get up, we went to lunch, we're tired, everyone's tired. So your mental state is going to be what? Tired. Right?
Set yourself up to fail.
Yeah, you're setting your players up for failure. Don't ever use that as an excuse. You know what I mean? If you do detect fatigue, then you keep it to yourself behind the scenes between you and your staff. You don't start screaming at the media and crying to the media. That's the worst thing you can do. Players have, and then I'm sorry to have to say it. I mean, I did it early in my career, but then after that, I was what you might call a consummate professional. But you do bits and pieces when you're a kid. You think you can get away with it, but the game's got a knack of like catching you up and biting you on the backside. You know what I mean? Yeah. So players, the point I'm making, the players they'll have your eyes out. You know what I mean? They can be unreliable and they can let you down. So, and they'll look for excuses. So the last thing you do, that's what I've always said, the last thing you do is give them another excuse, Joe. And ideally, around the club, you want an excuse-free environment, which is why they've got multi-million-pound training complexes now.
Well, quick question for you on that then, the excuse thing. So obviously the whole thing now is playing out from the 18-yard box, 2 centre-halves on each side of the 6-yard box, goalkeeper plays it out, and then they try and beat the press, don't they? This is the new fashion. The new fad in professional football. You're a centre half. The manager says to you, you've got to get involved in that. You've got to put yourself on one side of the 6-yard box and you've got to start passing out from the back.
Yeah.
First question, do you follow his guidance? Do you do what he says? Secondly, if you do and you make a ricket, whose fault is it? Yours or the manager's?
Oh, it's yours. It's not the manager's. I'll go along with it. I mean, if early on in my career, playing out from the back at Chelsea, I got myself in a couple of bits tight spots against Palace in a pre-season friendly. We got fucking hammered. Jeff Hurst was the manager, but you were obliged to go and get it off the goalkeeper because there were no patterns of play. This ties in with what I said again to the chaps, and what I've said on social media, what I've said in other interviews, for people like James Elder with his Full Core 24 podcast, because he's helped publicise ours, and we want to try and move forward with this thing, Joe. Right? The bottom line is this: the only time I might have had a problem with a manager is if he insulted my intelligence or he himself an intellectual pygmy. So I'm thinking the likes of people I played for. I don't necessarily have to mention their name because it's just going out of my way to be horrible. But let me give you, for instance, what Aston Villa did. Let's take Arsenal playing out, goalkeeper spotting the ball, a la Manchester City, Arteta's time at Manchester City. Okay, fair enough. But you've got to be so switched on whereby the time to do it and the only time to do it is when maybe, like I've said before on this show, all the play, and I was talking about Chelsea at the time, and I was talking about how well he does it, the new guy from Rennes, the new goalkeeper, is when all the players shifted over to one side and you can spot the ball or you've caught the ball and you can fizz it out the other way and then you play out from the back and everyone takes an angle off the ball, etc. Right, so you're set up there. What I would say is this: Aston Villa specifically looked like they were well drilled, well coached, well organised, and they'd had a pre-match briefing in an hotel whereby they set traps. Now, you hear coaches, idiots on the sideline, calling out to kids, set traps, set traps, set traps, right? They don't know what they're saying. They can't coach what they're saying, and their kids definitely don't understand what they're saying.
It's buzzwords.
Buzzwords, right? So to look good, to look modern, right? But what they did, Aston Villa, they actually slightly conceded the ball, allowed them to do their thing, and then the first man went boom, the second man and the third man and the fourth, and they went boom, and they locked on, and they pressed. And then you see the damage done between Grealish and Barkley, right?
Yeah,
so the point being, right, Joe, if you're the keeper, I'm going to say, hold on to it. And then I'll go to my back foot. Because listen, there's no disgrace or embarrassment to me. There will be to other people, but what they are, quite frankly, are football snobs. It becomes football snobbery. Because there's nothing wrong with, you go a goal down after trying to bring the plane out from the 6-yard box, your own goalkeeper, and it gets pinched, and then he has a little fanny on it and does a trick, Grealish, then he passes it to Barkley, then he does one, and then he gives it back to Barkley, and then
he does a reverse pass, and I can't remember he'd done the cross at the back.
Yeah, what I put down, I thought that Grealish and Barkley were very patient, and this is something I've never understood, right? I thought they were very patient on the ball, right? So here's the thing: I'm a centre back, and I'm the nearest centre back, the furthest centre back, or the furthest full back, right? What people don't realise is there's a flip side to Grealish and to Barkley doing their trickery and doing their step overs and passing the ball backwards and forwards to each other. That gives me time to set up. That's the flip side of that coin. So when that cross sort of faded in towards the far post and then they got it in the back of the net, I thought to myself, what were the rest of the Arsenal back three, back four, back five doing while Grealish and Barkley were like basically taking the mickey out of them? Right? The furthest players from the ball had like ample time. I could have had a start as a main course and a dessert by the time the ball was actually played in, right?
Yeah.
But going back, sticking to specifics in terms of playing out from the back, I would say this is a different kind of football intelligence, and I'll have a disagreement. I'll have a row with the manager. I'll say we're going to go down. We've tried to play out from the back, right? This is a different kind of football intelligence. What we're going to do, I'm going to tell the goalkeeper to keep hold of the ball, and I'll say to everyone, right, get up, get squeezed up so that he can have a dribble, flip it out, and then hang it up either in the channel or ping it in flat for the centre forward. So what you're doing, you're bedding the ball in the opposition half, and you're actually getting up the football field, and you're playing a bit of football, gaining territory, and you're playing a bit of football in the opposition. Let's say the middle, the far end of the middle third, or your attacking third. You understand what I mean?
I do. Yeah.
Rather than invite pressure and induce pressure, it's a different type of football intelligence. Hold on, we've tried this 3, 4, 5 times. Yeah. Villa have locked on. They've scored one and had 2 near misses. I'm not having this. If I'm an Adams or a Campbell, I'm not having this.
But you get an executive decision. Would you
exactly
make
on
the executive decision on the pitch?
Exactly.
And you wouldn't mind taking the rap when you went into the change room afterwards and the manager gave you a
ball. Well, no, this is the rap
decision.
Yeah, well, that's the rows I had with managers. I had them even in the promotion winning season when I skipped it. Oh, in the grand scheme of things, it ain't the fucking Champions League, but it's like I skipped it late night at the thing, and I had loads of rows in the dressing room. I go it's like Peacock at Gillingham. It was like Clark at Leighton Orient. Hold on, you want me to go on the football field? Don't forget, right? He's saying he took a punt on me. I fucking took a punt on them after 2 successive relegations. I was educated for 6 years at Chelsea Football Club. You understand what I mean?
So
I'm saying to you, you want me to go out, you want me to go and exercise my ability, my football IQ, intelligence, whatever you want to call it. You want me to be a warrior, you want me to put my foot in, you want me to boss people, you want me to be vocal, you want me to be manly, you want me to be a leader. And then when I come off the field, you want me to have no personality. You want me to shut the fuck up. Right? You make your mind up. What one do you want? If you were, I could come off and... can I have a cup of tea, half-time cup of tea? Like everybody else, just be a sheep, or you can be a leader. So the point I'm making is you take it upon yourself to be a leader and you say, nah, they've had 3 near misses and a goal. Yeah. So I'm not having this. So all you like tricky dickies, all you ball players, because they've created Linares an environment. Let me tell you this. It's I know one coach I played under, he said, this is nonsense. This is nonsense football. This is like 5-a-side fanny football, he'd say. You know what I mean? And that's the environment now. And people come in on a whim. And if you go up against it, I thought Villa were absolutely perfect. In every way, shape and form, were absolutely perfect. The way they applied themselves to counter this fantasy 5-a-side football from Arteta, who's done his bit and learnt off of Guardiola and as a player under Wenger. You know what I mean? What you want is exactly what you said. You've summed it up perfectly. An executive decision. Now, fuck this. They've had 4-5 shots on thing already. We've got to bed it in there off and play a little bit and gain a bit of territory and have a breather.
So on that, we do this game then. So was it a freak result, in inverted commas freak, like I guess when Villa beat Liverpool? And if not, are Villa as good as Arsenal? Is that as good as Arsenal are now? Losing 3-0 at home to Villa.
Well, I'm gutted.
And a Villa good.
I'm gutted in 2 ways, right? One I said a couple of weeks ago. No, it wasn't a couple of weeks. It was Tuesday. When Don said we'd do another podcast, straight after that weekend, they beat Man United 1-0 up there, and I've got my treble up. So what I've done is this week I've gone for a 4-timer, and the one I was worried about.
Got cocky, didn't you?
Yeah, well, that's me. That's me. I'll go large, or I'll go on and have an early night. Well, no, listen, I was worried. I was a little bit worried about Chelsea. They've ended up, there was no need to worry. They absolutely hammered Sheffield United. And what was I thinking? There was a class above them in every area of the field, right? No disrespect to Sheffield United. And I'm a fan of Wilder, right? I was worried about typical West Ham. I thought could be typical West Ham. Will they let me down at home to Fulham with the form they've been on? And he's right what he said, Moyes. He said, like, great performances, but what I want us to start, I'm paraphrasing slightly, I want us to start turning these performances into results, right? So 2 out of 2. Then the early kickoff, someone told me I was doing something else. And then someone said to me, oh, you know, Spurs beat West Brom, didn't you? I went, oh, excellent. So I thought, so now I'm thinking, lovely, this week, 2 weeks on the spin, the charity bet for the Football Uncensored podcast with Don's backers. And I thought, happy days, we've got a 4-timer. They've let me down like you won't believe. And they've not only let down me 4-timer, I put on Twitter, they didn't even turn up. They didn't even turn up. So you're looking, if you're talking to me about football IQ, I want the ballpark. I want the lot. I want all sorts of football. I want all football IQ. How you attack, how you defend, how you change, how you become tactically adaptable in a game, how you can change your shape, how you can change your patterns of play, or change your play for maybe 5-10 minutes to push the opposition back. Yeah. So they think, oh no, well that ain't going. Listen, if they'd have done that, Villa might have thought after being briefed by John Terry, another ex-Leyton Orient boy, Dean Smith, right? They've had the thing in the probably had the thing in the hotel where they do it with a flip chart, or they've done it on the Friday, or done it on the training ground, and you'd have had players looking at each other going, "What are they on about?" Arsenal have just kept going long for 10 minutes. So then what happens is they drop off. Then you can put a spot in and start playing out from the back again, because you push the opposition back because they're worried about the ball going into the middle or the attacking third. Do you understand what I mean? So that's a different type of football IQ.
And you talk about IQ. The definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over again and hoping for a different result.
Yeah, what's that Einstein quote, isn't it?
Possibly.
I think it's an Einstein quote. Yeah.
And that's kind of like what playing out from the back is certainly the way Arsenal played against Villa. They tried.
Joe, what I couldn't get my head around is a couple of things. I'm just going to throw this out there very quickly. I've put the notes. I put the McGinn goal was a bit of a let-off, right? I put that. I put Grealish and Barkley showed tremendous patience. But then the flip side of that, like I've said, the opposite of that is, and I've never understood it, the defence and the defenders furthest from the ball have ample time to set up, and then in brackets for the first goal. And then I've put Grealish, to me, the way it looks to me, has brought out the best of Barkley. I think Barkley's showing the form he should have showed when he went to Chelsea.
Yeah, agreed.
He's expressing himself, and he looks like it. Well, I'll tell you what it is, right? I've played the game for many years. I've been in the game for many years. It's like borderline arrogance / nonchalance, right? And I played with players like it. I'll tell you one, so relaxed, it was unbelievable, at Chelsea, Mickey Fillery. Good midfield player, left footer. Ray Wilkins was another one. So relaxed. And then some of my favourite players that I watched, Charlie George at the Arsenal, John Radford and George Armstrong were my other, and Ray Kennedy, they were my 4 favourite Arsenal players. When I see Charlie play, it's almost like, and then I'm looking at people like Rodney Marsh. They play the game, stand bowls, borderline piss take. That's the only way I can say it. They're so relaxed, it's a borderline piss take. And that's how Grealish and Barkley look at the moment.
Organic and natural.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the thing, crossfield ball, Barkley, superb first-time ball.
God, that volley with his left foot, was it the second or third goal?
Yeah, and then I looked at Watkins, come out of the lower divisions, right? Or come out of Brentford, right? So come out of the Championship. What I liked about him was quick thinking and the desire to get on the end of the ball, and he got on the end of the ball and head it in. So when it went across the field, then it got played in just on the edge of the 6 yard, second 6 yard, and he's done the diving header. And then the Villa third, Watkins again, one touch finish right in the corner. I'll put
for his legs,
Arsenal Football Club, AFC, off the pace, a yard short, didn't compete at all. I've put talent is no good to anybody if there's no consistency, appetite, energy, compete, and the old cliche, earning the right to play. I thought AFC invited the press, and Villa were perfect with it. And then I've already covered it.
Yeah,
lengthen the game to break the lines.
The Venus flytrap. Leicester Wolves quickly. 1-0 Leicester. One penalty scored, one penalty missed. It was the old VAR handball, which I guess we can cover this Kinman one, which is almost identical to the Gomez one in the Man City Liverpool game. So we can either cover it off now, or we can cover it off in the Man City Liverpool one, because I think we should discuss it. What I did want to ask you initially was, how highly do you rate Brendan Rodgers? How good is he? Because again, talk about the phrase purring. Leicester look really, really good, I think, at the moment, and tactically they seem to get it spot on. A kid I played football with for the district and rep team and that when I was a kid, he's actually assistant manager at Leicester now, Chris Davis, and he's been with him a long time, and they seem to have a very successful blueprint to me.
Yeah. Well, I heard good things about Brendan at Chelsea when he run the reserves, or under 23s, whatever they were.
Yeah, he went to Watford, didn't he?
Well, let me tell you, he had. I mean, I've got a lot of pals in the black cab trade up in Glasgow. A little shout out to them boys, because we talk about things every day: politics, football, and the cab trade. There's a few up there, none too pleased with him, Celtic. But everything's got a shelf life, and I always thought that I'll tell you what strikes me about Brendan Rodgers, and I'll say good luck to him. He's always struck me as someone who's been very ambitious, forward-thinking, and he's exemplary at managing his own career. Because it was very quiet, Watford, where on paper he was a failure, and Reading, where on paper he was a failure. And then for me at Liverpool, on paper he was a failure. Because I thought at Liverpool, what's the Mickey take one, where they snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. I thought they should have. They were a few points clear.
Oh, was that the Gerrard slip, Denver Bar?
No, well before that. I thought the damage was done when they were 3-0 up at Palace and ended up drawing 3-3. You know, and then you got the Gerrard slip or vice versa. But you know, like they lost their nerve. That's the bottom line. Yeah. They lost their nerve. But I always thought that he concentrated at those places. He seemed to concentrate more. He concentrated more on the forward play or aspects of forward play rather than an all-round game. I don't know. I might be wrong because I'll tell you what, Joe. No one knows what really goes on behind the scenes. So you don't know the work he did, and it might have been the players that let him down. But he didn't hang about. He didn't hang about at Watford or Reading. He wasn't castigated in any way, shape, or form. He managed his career well. He done the Liverpool gig. He done the
Swansea. He went to Swansea after.
Yeah, I think that was one of the other ones. Yeah, I might. Yeah, I mean, I might be wrong.
I think you're right. Reading and Watford. I think he might have gone to Swansea. I think we might have gone to Reading after Watford. Then he went to Swansea after Reading. So.
Yeah, and he just carried on where Martinez left off, apparently, in terms of Swansea.
And that's the DNA again. Talking about Southampton. You know, it's kind of, it doesn't matter who takes over. There's the DNA of the club's there.